What up, dude bros? I'm Frank. This is a video review of the Nerf Limited Aliens M41A. This blaster by Nerf is a prop-style blaster, obviously based on the Aliens rifle, but it's a fully automatic, magazine-fed blaster with a super cool ammo counter, and it has an integrated spring-powered Mega Blaster up front. That introduction was bad. I like this guy's better.
I want to introduce you to a personal friend of mine. This is an M41A pulse rifle, 10 millimeter, with an over and under 30 millimeter pump-action grenade launcher.
Yeah, it's that gun. Let's get into the review. But first, I'd like to thank this video's sponsor, Established Titles. Established Titles is a fun and novel way to preserve the natural woodlands of Scotland, as well as support global reforestation efforts. Through Established Titles, you can purchase souvenir plots of land in Eddleston, Scotland. And based on historical Scottish customs, this allows you to call yourself a lord or a lady. Purchasing a title pack gives you at least 1 square foot of dedicated land with a unique plot number on a private estate in Scotland. Check it out, I'm officially Lord Frank Cooper. And with every order, the company plants 1 tree to help with global reforestation by working with the global charities One Tree Planted and Trees for the Future. Purchasing this title means you can officially include the title Lord or Lady on your credit card, plane tickets, or dating profile. What a time to be alive! I'm a lord according to Scotland, and I've never been to Scotland! And the first 200 people to buy a title using my link in the description box below will be within walking distance of my plot, so we can build a little foam-flinging kingdom over in Scotland. And if you use my creator code, you can get 10% off. This could be a fun, quirky purchase for yourself, and it also makes a great last-minute gift idea. And right now, they're running a massive Black Friday sale, so check out establishedtitles.com/coop772. Thank you to Established Title for sponsoring my channel. I now return you to your regularly scheduled foam-flinging entertainment. Included is the blaster, magazine, darts, and instructions. This blaster requires 4 C-type batteries and are installed as shown. External overview of the blaster, starting up at the front. There's no in-strike barrel lug, but up front the top barrel is the full auto barrel that's fed from the magazine back here, and right below that is a Mega barrel which can be front-loaded like that. Included are 3 Mega AccuStrike darts. They do have cool coloring, but they're just regular Mega AccuStrike. And you can front-load very simply like that. To prime the integrated Mega Blaster, you pull back on this handle, like that. Prime strength required is weaker than a lot of Mega Blasters on the market, but this does not shoot very hard at all. It's weak, but it's a relatively smooth prime. Behind that is the trigger right here for the Mega Blaster. So when you pull back on that, you can fire. And as you can hear, there's also sound effects with this blaster. And it's got a nice trigger guard in front of that, so if you drop the blaster, you're not going to break that trigger or have a negligent discharge. Overall, a pretty cool integrated Mega system up front. Granted, the gun from the movie has a grenade launcher. It doesn't just launch slugs, which is lame. But given the size restrictions, shooting a Mega Dart is the best we're going to get here for a Nerf gun. To take the mag out, you push this button right here, and then pull out. This magazine release is only on this side, it's not over here. The included magazine holds 10 Nerf Elite darts and is mostly shaped like a normal in-strike magazine. It fits in there like normal, but they don't have the little slot in the back of the magazine to work with the magazine catch. So this magazine only works with this blaster. And this magwell is not compatible with any other in-strike magazines that I tried it with. With some modification, I'm sure you can get some in-strike magazines to work with this blaster, like the 12-round stick mags maybe, but I'm a little surprised that Nerf made it so close to a normal in-strike mag, but they're not compatible. That's the magazine. Now to the ammo counter unit, which is on the side right here. So it's a pretty simple system. It reads 10 right now because that's where I have it set at. When you take out the magazine, you see double dashes, and then when you put the magazine back in, it assumes you just loaded the mag, and it'll go right back to 10. However, this ammo counter is adjustable, so you're able to push this little button, and you can move up at 1 dart increments, or you hold it, and it moves by 5 dart increments, and it actually goes all the way up to 99, and you can also set it to 00 if you want to for some reason. So once I set it at a new number, let's pretend I shot it a bunch. Then I take out the magazine, and when I put it back in, it goes right back to where I set it. And it's also worth noting, if you set it at 10 and you take a few shots, you still have some darts in your magazine and you set the blaster down. After a few minutes, your display will turn off, but when you pick it back up and you start shooting, it will remember where it was at. So overall, a pretty cool ammo counter. And it's worth noting the ammo counter is tied to the sound effects of the blaster. As I mentioned, the front blaster makes a noise every time you pull on this trigger. The rear blaster also makes noises, it's just harder to hear under the sound of the flywheels. But it makes one sound for firing when the ammo counter is above 0, then once you hit 0, it goes to a clicking sound. which I think is pretty cool. It's kind of a bummer though that you cannot activate that main sound without revving the flywheel trigger. You have to rev up the flywheels, which kind of muddy the audio. And the sound quality here is pretty bad. It sounds pretty cheap, especially given the price of the blaster. But that is the ammo counter and the sound system. Now moving back to the fire controls, underneath the main trigger is the rev switch. You want to hold that to rev up your flywheels for a moment before you start firing. Then you pull on the main trigger to fire the blaster, and this is a fully automatic system, meaning you hold down the trigger and it shoots all the ammo from the magazine without you taking your finger off the trigger. But it's still fairly easy to just shoot one at a time. There's no selector switch to make that mechanical, but you can just very simply pull off one at a time if you want to. Fire controls are very similar to other fully automatic Nerf brand blasters, so if you've shot like a rapid strike, using this one's pretty much the same thing. Now down to the grip. Overall, this is a fairly comfortable grip. It seems pretty movie accurate in appearance and scale, and I have larger than average hands and my hands fit on there just fine, but I think a younger person would be able to shoot this blaster just fine. It really will welcome almost any hand type. Moving on, up here you have an access door, which helps you clear out certain types of jams and malfunctions. I didn't experience any jams and malfunctions with this blaster though, but it's better to have it, not need it, than need it, not have it, especially with this huge long magwell, which would be very difficult to get your fingers up into. Moving up top, we do not have an N-Strike tactical rail. You cannot mount any Nerf attachments or anything up here, but it's a prop toy, so that makes sense. It looks like the one from the movie. Moving on, over here we have the battery tray. As I mentioned, this blaster runs on 4 C-type batteries, and they're installed back here. And now back to the stock. This is a permanently fixed in place, non-adjustable, non-removable stock. And unfortunately, it's pretty short. I'd really like to pull it out a few inches, but you can't. It's fixed in place right there. So that's a bummer, but worth noting. Those are all of the external features of this blaster. A note on ergonomics and balance. Overall, it's actually a very well-balanced blaster. I like where they put the batteries. The weighting seems good. It's a fairly narrow blaster, so it's fun to hold. It's easy to shoot. It feels good in the hands. The weighting and ergonomics and balance are overall pretty good. My only complaint is I really do wish that stock could be pulled out a little bit to be a little longer. Other than that, everything feels really good with this one. So that's an overview of the blaster itself. Now I'll show you it firing. So operating this blaster was pretty fun. I did not experience any jams or malfunctions. Using the magazine worked pretty well. The prime action works pretty smooth. The overall balance and ergonomics and handling of the blaster are pretty good. Performance is nothing to write home about, but I don't think that's why you're buying a blaster like this. But to compare performance, I put this blaster up on my chronograph. Shooting the main blaster with Nerf Elite darts achieved an average velocity of 66 feet per second. And shooting the undergun with both AccuStrike and regular Mega darts achieved an average velocity of 35 feet per second. 66 FPS is a little bit slow compared to the Elite par of 70 feet per second for the main gun, but the undergun is shooting way slower than most Nerf Mega blasters. This is not shooting hard at all. That's the performance, and that is all of the objective information I can provide on this blaster. Now to my personal opinion. Overall, my opinion on this one is pretty mixed. Now mechanically, everything works as advertised. Firing velocity isn't stellar, but it's not too bad, and the rate of fire is pretty decent. The undergun's performance is pretty terrible, but it is smooth to use and really fun to pull on this trigger. How this one is set up, it is fun to use even if it's not effective. Now I think cosmetically, they really nailed the shell lines. It looks a lot like the gun from the movie, but the colors obviously ruin that, so you can't buy this if you're a prop person unless you also want to paint it. A few complaints I have to make clear about this blaster. First, the magazine compatibility is just kind of disappointing and irritating. This is the only magazine I have that works with the blaster. It's so close to being an N-Strike magazine, but it's not compatible with my other stuff, which I find annoying. They even made the ammo counter adjustable, which I kind of thought, oh, okay, so I can use my other mags. And I bought it, and it's like, nope, you can't. This is what you're stuck with. But I do think the adjustable ammo counter is mostly for the people who want to replicate the ammo capacity from the film, not so much actual Nerfers flinging foam. So that part makes sense, but I'm still going to complain about it, because that's what I do here. Next, I think it's annoying that they added a trigger lock and I don't have like a sound-only mode with this prop-style blaster. That's not the case with a front gun. You can pull this trigger and make noises without actually shooting. You can't do that with the main gun. You have to rev it up, which really muddies the audio. And it would be cool to be able to set the ammo counter super high to be able to make that gun noise without revving the motors. And there's no way to do that. I feel like it would have been fairly easy for them to set it up that way, but they didn't. A gripe, but a minor gripe, the sound here is not very good anyways. This speaker is not of very high quality. Given the price of the unit and the overall quality of the plastic and stuff, I feel like they could have put a better speaker in here to give the prop people a better experience. That might be insignificant, but it made the whole blaster feel cheaper than it is. And my last complaint is the static stock. I think it's too small and it's not adjustable. They're obviously going after adults with disposable income with this blaster. Nobody under the age of 14 has seen the movie Aliens. They don't care about this. This is for people who are older and bigger and fully grown, and they want to be able to shoulder this a little bit more appropriately. I think that's a bummer, and I also think it would have added to the coolness factor of being able to adjust stuff. Being able to move and manipulate components in a prop just makes it way cooler than having everything static and fixed in place. It makes it feel cheap. But those are my major complaints about this blaster. The praise I have to give this blaster is how accurate it looks to the movie in the shell lines, not the color. My other big praise on this blaster is the ammo counter. It's so cool. Right when I'm looking at it, it turns off. And I like how they made it adjustable, not so much for nerfers, but for prop people who want to put the ammo capacity up into the 40s to be more like the movie. And I really dig that they made the ammo counter correlate with the sound effect, so it goes dry and it goes click, 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 and it changes, which is just cool. It's a subtle thing, but it makes the experience more fun. And lastly, the balance and ergonomics on this blaster are solid. It looks a little bit weird. It looks super chonky with this whole front end here, but it works. It's a fun one to hold. The undergun doesn't shoot very hard at all, but it's still really fun to use. And it almost feels more like a grenade launcher because it shoots so slow, because you don't shoot it in a straight line. You have to lob it. I don't know if that's what Hasbro was going for, but it does make it feel more like a grenade launcher when you have to shoot it up into the air, compared to the main blaster where you're mostly shooting in a straight line. So mixed opinion. I'm not a prop guy, I'm a Nerf guy, so I'm trying to lay out my opinion as clearly as I can to help you with your purchase decision. Which brings me to the question, to buy or not to buy. If you're a competitive Nerfer looking for a blaster, I don't think this is the right one for you. The lack of magazine compatibility is the biggest issue I have with this for actual Nerfers. You can technically make other magazines compatible with this blaster and then adjust the ammo counter to fit, but that requires permanent modification to the magazine. I'm really bummed that Hasbro didn't make this compatible with our existing 12-round stick mags. So if you're not into Aliens, if you're just into foam flinging, I think this is grossly overpriced for just a rapid strike with an ammo counter. So to competitive Nerfers, no, I can't make a strong argument for this one. However, for prop people, especially prop people who are really into props and you're gonna paint stuff and you enjoy painting stuff and you want something from the Aliens film, yes, consider this blaster. The shell lines are solid. With the paint job, this thing will look great as a prop blaster. But getting to the availability, this is no longer available. I didn't pre-order this from GameStop. I actually bought it on eBay for 200 bucks. It retails for 100, but they sold out. They started the pre-order last year. Hasbro, what are you doing with this artificial supply and demand manipulation? It's bullshit. They make us commit a year in advance before anybody's reviewed the product with just CGI renderings? Like, that's nonsense. Nowadays in 2022? Come on, man. I want to see the thing before I buy the thing. I don't want this to be a trend with this Nerf limited series. It's kind of weird. It doesn't appear that they made enough for everyone, so even though I'm reviewing it, you can't necessarily buy it. GameStop is sold out, and it's a GameStop exclusive, so it's on Amazon for like $240. It's on eBay for about $200, which is where I bought mine. But I don't know if they're gonna make more or if that's it, and if you didn't pre-order it, you're screwed. Which is so annoying. Hasbro, just make more. If it's a cool enough thing, we want to buy it. But we want to buy it when it's available. We don't want to commit to it a year in advance, especially with your recent track record of making Elite 2.0 and other just trashy blasters. No, we don't trust you to pay for it a year in advance. Come on. So I am kind of annoyed by that lack of availability for this product, and I feel bad for reviewing something that you can't reasonably purchase. I'm sorry about that. But maybe they'll make a second batch or something and sell them on Amazon, or I don't know. But hey, hopefully I've laid out everything for you to make an educated purchase decision on your own if they're available to purchase. If not, hopefully I entertained you and maybe gave you some nostalgia from the old films. That concludes this video review. Thanks so much for watching, bros, and as always, stay tactical.